Welcome in to the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Robbie Lastella aboard with you alongside my co-host Christian Proshi. You're tuning in to the Lastella Report. Happy Tuesday night, everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to hang out with me and Christian, talking everything FAU, talking everything AAC, talking everything Florida college football. It was a big week in the college football landscape as a whole. Christian's Canes looked good. UFFSU did not. But most importantly, FAU took home the Shula Bowl trophy over FIU in dominating fashion. Me and Christian were both in attendance for that one. It was a good game. Finally, it was exciting to just have the vibes, like, even press when teams are losing, vibes are never good. So it's good to get that first W both for FAU it was a good experience. Christian, how was your weekend? What's going on?
Good weekend all around, Rob. I'm really happy with, like you said, FAU putting on a show in the Shula Bowl, cracking the belts, as we will. Getting now seven consecutive Shula Bowls, 8 consecutive years, because guess what? That gap year, it still counts, and we still own you. FIU got sent back to the slums of Key Biscayne. Now it's on to UConn. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but other than that, like you said, the Canes had a good weekend dominating Ball State. Tennessee Vols had a good win over Kent State. Another bring out the belts evening. All around good weekend for Christian's college football teams. Terrible weekend for Christian's NFL teams because the Dolphins got manhandled on primetime television on Thursday. I said it a little on my show last night, but prayers up to Tua, who has now been placed on the injured reserve. And then the Baltimore Ravens, who most people don't know that I actually do pull for due to their extreme ties to South Florida. They didn't look good against the Raiders either. So great weekend of college ball, terrible weekend of NFL ball, and also my fantasy team lost this weekend, Rob, and parlays didn't hit. So all around NFL weekend.
Well, that's why I say I don't like pro sports. I grew up a big Giants fan.
That's
Actually, that's not true. I do enjoy some pro sports. I like the Heat and the Panthers. I enjoy the atmospheres of both those arenas. And I think they both have like good organizations, which is important to me in pro sports because things, just players come in and out in pro sports. But same thing with colleges though. But yes, it was a great weekend in the college football slate everywhere really. Memphis, starting my day off watching Memphis versus FSU. That was one heck of a ball game. Shout out Seth Hennigan. He played well. Chandler Martin was really playing well too, getting after DJU back there in the backfield. So just want to get a quick shout out in there for those guys. They took time to speak with me at the AAC Media Days. So always good to see nice people doing well. But for FAU in the Shula Bowl, that was where my day went after that game. And I was there for a couple hours longer than I thought it would be. That rain there in the beginning was something. It was a torrential downpour. That was like on par with like UCF a couple of years ago, where like the parking lots and the tailgates flooded. I was still a student, so I was enjoying the parking lot
that
party.
boy Rob was still in effect back then.
So I was enjoying the all that. But Christian, what did you think of the rain down there on the field? I know as my dog goes crazy, but what was the atmosphere during the rain for you?
Spice heard my voice, so she started barking. Just remember that your dog loves me more than you. Never forget it. I miss the rain. I'm gonna be honest. Because during warm-ups, they ended up clearing everybody like 40 minutes before the original intended kickoff. Really, the only people that were on the field, FAU wise, in pads were Logan Lupo and Morgan Suarez and the whole kicking, special teams, special moments crew. So a lot of it was just me and a bunch of the recruits watching and just talking. And then they go over and they're like, I found out before the general public did because a bunch of people working with facilities were like, we got to get them off the field. We're about to go on to a weather delay. So we get all of us get off the field. We go to the media room, and all of a sudden, as we're in there, we just hear pounding, pounding rain. I open the door, and I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me. So just shut that door, went about my day, waited about 20 minutes, and then ran up to the press box where I got to annoy you for the 2.5 hour delay. I know you enjoyed and Katrina enjoyed being able to spend some good quality time with me.
Well, that's why they keep you guys locked down on the field because we actually don't want to hang out with you. But
Oh,
didn't
but I
last long.
escaped.
They sent you back down there at about 7:40. Game kicked off, and honestly, in the first quarter, I was very, very concerned. FIU went down there, marched down, scored 3 plays. Offense went 9 plays for 10 yards to start that game, 3 straight 3-and-outs. So that was ugly. Straight up. I mean, there was nothing good going on for FAU, but the defense bounced back. And they bounced back in a big way, forcing 5 turnovers. And then the offense finally got going. It would the run game. Well, I love running the ball. Shout out JP Acosta on Twitter. He's a big fan of running the ball as well. I see that. And it's I saw it somewhere. I don't know if it was him who tweeted about it or somebody else, but the run game making a resurgence in both the NFL and the college ranks. I think it is awesome. And FAU was running that thing. Zubairi Mobley was really good. I rushed for over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, took a 72-yard touchdown. I think the offensive line just took a collective sigh of relief after that one. I think they hadn't had anything explosive all season. I think the biggest play was maybe one of the touchdown passes, whether it's to Jay Sean or Omari, but that was something, the fans could be, if the fans went crazy, it was just something that finally got everything going. And then from there, it was smooth sailing from there. Once FAU scored right before the half, they really put that game to bed. Then they came out to start the second half, which was that was probably really impressive to me. They go 14 plays, 75 yards, and they score a touchdown. Cam Fancher runs it in from 12 yards out. Takes a little bit of a big hit, unfortunately, on the goal line, but luckily everything was okay. Cam does have a bit of a finger injury. Tom Herman reported, but all is well with him. He'll play this week, but he did mention some of the throws that he has missed, and fans are like, man, that is just like ugly. And they are. There's no other way around it. And the same thing, Tom Herman, it was like, you see some of those throws and you're like, and then Tom's looking at Cam and he's shaking his hand a little bit. So, some of the throws right now are still not getting there. But like Tom Herman mentioned today at the press conference, it's getting better. His hand got stepped on against Michigan State. And so, the really only way to fully get that better is to not use it at all for, an extended period of time, a week, a couple days. And he's the starting quarterback. So, unless they're going to sit him, which they're not at the moment, that's just not possible. So the bye week's coming up after Wagner next week. Hopefully after that, he'll be able to get healthy for a North Texas matchup at home, which is suiting up to be a huge game. But overall, I liked how Cam got back to running the football like he did against Michigan State. I think that was important. He carried it 14 times for 64 yards, averaged like 4 yards after contact, which I think is huge. You get that from you get that from your running backs. That's one thing, but your quarterback churning out extra yards is how you turn 3rd and 10, which was what FAU faced against Army and Michigan State. These backed up third downs into third and 4, 3rd and 3, and then it's much more manageable to give it to Zoo in what maybe be a 4th and 1 situation, and Zubairi takes it 70-something yards, 72 yards to the crib. And then for CJ Campbell as well, he carried it 61 yards on the ground, had 59 yards receiving. So big day for CJ. And both of the running backs really finally found their mojo. Had a 100-yard scrimmage. CJ did. So that was good to see. And Christian, so I want to ask you. You see the offense put up 38 points. You see the defense force 5 turnovers. Is that something you think is an indicative of this team? It's going to be a team that can potentially go out there and score 5 touchdowns every game and force turnovers. Or was it also, kind of partially the fact that FIU may have not been as good as some people thought they may have been coming off that big game against Central Michigan?
First off, I don't even think that the game against Central Michigan is a big game. I think Central Michigan lost a lot going into this year. A lot of a couple projected starters are going into the year were no longer on the team. So I don't think Central Michigan is as good as they are. So I told you I took that game with a grain of salt. I bought more stock into them getting the brakes beaten off of them by Indiana than the CMU game. So I want to preface with that of I going into the game I didn't think FIU was as good as it was. I thought Keon Jenkins is a very good quarterback, but we had his number. We definitely had his number, and we played lights out. That's all I gotta say. Like you asked, I think this team, and we've said this throughout the entirety of spring ball going through the summer, this team has the potential to damn near score on every drive offensively. I firmly believe that with the healthy mix of star power on the receiver room and in the running back room, mixed with very good or mixed with comparable and competent quarterback play, I think this team has the potential to be able to score damn near every drive, or at least once every two drives, or something like that. They literally fought tooth and nail the entirety of the first quarter, and Coach Herman said it the best. They were trying to lose. It felt like they were trying to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That entire first quarter, I was like, well, I'm wasting another Saturday afternoon. I'm going to be completely honest. I was like, all right, the most fun I had today was going to be at the tailgate. But I think that they bounced back. But when you have, like you said, an immediate 3-and-out on your own 12, then you get
Block.
then you get a blocked punt. But then the defense causes them to go 4-and-out
Tom Herman mentioned it. That after the block punt, them getting a defensive stop was huge. No
because
points.
that's the thing is they they get scored on the opening drive of the game. My camera almost went flying into the student section because I was like, why is there just nobody covering a wheel route? And also it was right in front of me and it was bad. I was like, blur to my own team. So sorry, y'all boys, for that to force a habit. Um, and then yeah, we go 3-and-out. One of which plays we got bailed out because that should have been a fumble. They ruled dead ball. Should have been a fumble.
Yeah.
Like that very easily could have just blown this whole game into smithereens on that play in itself,
Well,
going
before.
possibly going down 14-0. Then getting the punt blocked, which I do want to give a special shout out to FIU because the gunner that blocked the punt is one of my Palm Beach kids. So Luby, hell of a play, proud of you, buddy. I'm giving my boy his flowers. I don't care. Um, and then yeah, you're on your own 13, 14-yard line and you hold strong. You don't even allow a first down. Like well done defense.
Yeah.
Like you and like Herman said, that was a pivotal point in this game. And then from there, basically, everybody started to lock in. I'm also a big advocate of, to quote Sandra Bullock from The Blind Side, run the dang ball. And we did just that. How was my Sandra Bullock impression, Rob?
I wasn't expecting the blindside Sandra Bullock reference tonight, but here we are. We're here for it.
There we go.
That's where we're
I
at.
live to impress. We had an Ace Ventura reference on my show last night, and we have a Blindside reference today. I might go remember the Titans or something tomorrow. Stay tuned. Um,
I mean, honestly, my favorite football show of all time is Blue Mountain State, and some of those references,
yes,
I don't think I can mention those on here.
I
But
was about to
great
say
show. Great show.
avid oil change enthusiast Robert.
Time out. Time out. Time out. Time out.
Um,
All right, but
back
back
to FAU.
Yeah, we didn't want to get too sidetracked there. But what really impressed me was Cam's ability to kind of command the offense. If the offense had struggled for a little bit there, And I really do think Cam in this game, he stretched the field a little bit better. Pat, was able to throw throw passes 10 yards down the field, which I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but those first two games, we weren't seeing that. We were seeing a lot of passes at the line of scrimmage. But this game he threw, especially outside the numbers to the left side, completed both of his passes out there for 45 yards, completed one of three over the middle for 15 yards. So that's 60 yards right there through the middle. Slow progression, like Tom Herman said. He's dealing with a bit of a finger injury. But it was good to see Cam bounce back, and slowly improve the pass game a little bit. And also he had the run game going. As we mentioned, season high in carries, a little bit less than yards than he had against Michigan State. But overall, still really solid overall for Cam in that one. And then really with the running backs, the first two games they had 2 first downs picked up with running backs. This game, I had it and it's gone. But I'll just pull it up here real quick. I do want to figure that out. They had 7 carries this game of 10 plus, which I don't have the number they had in the previous 2, but I know it's not that much. They picked up, with the running backs this game, they picked up 12 first downs. Do you know how, that's like double, almost 6 times the amount they had in the first 2 games, which it's, that's all you need to know. I mean, the running backs, they hadn't gotten anything going, and now they finally did. And Christian, I just want to, how do they go about kind of replicating that with their struggles? I mean, it's kind of tough to tell. I'm trying to figure out if this run game is the normal or if it was just an anomaly. What I saw over the summer, this run game is what this team is capable of. And the pass game has been surprising, but it makes sense hearing, okay, yeah, Cam's dealing with an injury on his throwing hand, and there's also his 2 top receivers are out on the outside. So that's less surprising to me. But what was really surprising to me was the fact the run game was non-existent through the first 2 games. So do you think we see in this UConn matchup, do we see these running backs start to establish a trend?
Well, I think we have so much big play potential. You saw the Zoo 72-yard touchdown was a 4th and 1. Like, he needed 1 yard, picked up another 70 yards on one play. Like, we have the potential to do that in the run game, and we have the receiving core to be able to do that. I think our biggest issue, and I'm going to keep saying it, is the fact of chemistry still needed to happen. You can't go in after building a quote-unquote super team, which I'm not calling I'm not calling them a super team, but I'm just saying in general, we are still in the American Conference, guys. We are not a super team just yet. Give it till the end of this year, then I'll start calling them that. But building a team with all these guys, and everybody's trying to do their own thing, especially early when you don't have an established wide receiver 1 alpha. Everybody's trying to be the guy to grab the keys to the Lambo and go. No Georgia football or anything, but get those guys going instead of just trying to take the top off every single play, which at times it definitely did seem like, especially during the Army game, which I completely understand. We out-athleted Army by a long shot.
They out-schemed us.
They out-personneled us. That's the difference. They outplayed. We thought we were going to show up and dominate, is what it looked like to me. They got punched in the mouth against Army.
Mm-hmm.
A come to Jesus had to have happened, and I'm sure it happened during the long break that we were sitting in the media room waiting for Coach Herman to come in. I'm sure that's when the initial come to Jesus conversation came. But we came out the FIU game and everything was clicking. Stars were aligning. Shula Bowl was happening. And I do think we have the potential to carry this momentum into the remainder of the year because, like I keep saying, the overwhelming majority of projected offensive starters into offensive starters from week 1 were not enrolled at FAU during the 2023 school year.
Nope.
The
And
the majority of them did come in through spring ball, but guess what? There was a couple guys that came in through the summer.
mhm,
So you got to build the continuity. On paper, anybody can hit their receiver when they're running routes on air. No DBs, nothing, no pass rush coming in. That's why I don't really buy stock into 7-on-7s. When you don't have seven dudes trying to get into the backfield and kill you as a quarterback, really it's just, all right, let me read the field for 4 seconds and throw the ball. But being able to do that in game reps, that's what separates you from being good to being elite. And I think that it definitely builds time, or it takes time to build. So I
yeah,
think being able to get the guy, there's a fly or a mosquito flying around this room, and I am ready to crash out, Robbie. But that's why I keep going like this. Nobody farted or nothing. I don't stink. But being able,
debatable. Yeah.
yeah, I can smell you through the computer, you musty boy. But it takes time, and especially defensively, they've been holding it down. And I think now with the offense, it's all right. Y'all need to pick up the slack and not just try to hit home run balls every play. Things started to work. You saw the ball spread more. Platt was getting the ball. Milan was getting the ball. George had a nice day. Omari had a nice day. Marlon Johnson had a nice day. All the receivers were getting involved. Unfortunately, none of them hit that box, which I still believe that Platt's screen down to the one should have been a touchdown. He dove and knocked over the pylon. I firmly believe, because I was standing right there, I thought that was a touchdown. But
They got it in. They
yeah,
got it
I
in.
was about to say, guess what? We scored. I don't care who did it. Sorry, Platt. You got the first one of the year. We're good. But so I think that getting everybody and spreading the wealth a little more instead of just dying off of one read is what is going to make this team successful.
We shall see. I liked a lot that I saw in this game. The run game, really, the pass game improving, Cam running the ball, the offensive line losing Dartrey Richardson at right tackle, and then finding a way to sub in Alex Akovich and have their best run game of the season is insane. I mean, with a backup right tackle in there, that was also where the run Zuberi had the 4th and 1. It was through Alex Akovich's side, through the C gap right side. So that was awesome to kind of see the whole team, just all assets of the team. I mean, Chisholm Ifiani, once again, he won above 40% of his true pass sets off the edge. CJ Hurd had another game, recovered a fumble, has 20 tackles on the season. And just Phil Dunham had another interception. Day Hill and Bugs Brown both have interceptions. So all of that is there's just nowhere really to find too many down spots in that one. Besides, Day Hill did walk away from that one with an injury, so he has a high ankle sprain. He may be out this week. They're trying to get him fully ready to go. And Herman mentioned there will be a drop off in whoever comes in after him, and that's nothing against those guys. But Day has been outstanding on the outside alongside Bugs Brown. And UConn's got some guys at wide receiver. We'll talk about that more with Graham Chamberlain of Store Central on Inside the Borough next week. Make sure to tune into that. But they've looked good. UConn has looked good through. They lost to Duke by a couple. I think it was like 6 points. They lost to Duke by. So that was a close game. And then it's just been the first game of the season was a little bit of a struggle against Maryland. They didn't look good. Then they come out and they blow out Merrimack. But really, somebody on the outside, if Day's out, Skylar Bell, he's had 304 yards receiving so far through 3 games and a score. He's caught 14 of his 21 passes that have went his way. Got targeted 13 times against Duke. Caught 7 of those for 58 yards, which was a season low. So he'll be definitely a big target. Bugs Brown and him will be having some battles on the outside. For sure. And Nick Evers is slowly getting better back there for UConn. So, we'll see how this game goes. We'll figure out from Graham on Thursday what we're going to expect from the Huskies. FAU's second time ever playing at Connecticut. They played last time in 2002 when FAU was a D1 AA. FCS is now what it's called. And that was when UConn played on campus. They now play in East Hartford, Connecticut. which is about, I think, 10 to 15 minutes from Storrs. So we'll talk more to Graham about UConn on Thursday. But yeah, very, very happy with the direction of where things are going right now. Still want to see that pass game open up more. With hearing Cam's now dealing with a bit of a finger injury, and Herman he's been dealing with it since Michigan State, but hearing Herman, talk about how it, impacts some of those throws a little bit. Kind of interesting to see how the offense adapts to that, whether it's with the run game, shorter passes, whatnot. But we'll see how it all works against UConn. Herman mentioned that this team has a very good offensive line, so we'll see if FAU is able to bring that pressure. They looked pretty solid against Michigan State, who also has a pretty good offensive line. So we shall see. But what you got, Christian?
My biggest thing that I do want to emphasize is how important and how crucial that Shula Bowl victory was. Because basically, if you start the season off 0-3, everybody's packing it in at that point. Yeah, it's fans aren't going to show up anymore.
Shout out to fans also. Shout out to fans.
Shout out to the fans for sitting through that 2.5 hour delay, coming in, being rowdy until pretty much the game was packed away, despite what a couple people were talking about on Twitter. Student section, y'all showed out. Shout out to the Prowlers for always being there, heckling in a respectful manner. That's the thing about them is they don't trash talk; they nicely trash talk, and being able to hear them up close is pretty funny. So shout out to them because they're really good at what they do. We do have one of the better student sections in college football and in college athletics. I stand by that. And then, like I said, starting off the year 0-3 is pretty much a season ender. And then we had so many recruits in the house, Rob. I'm telling you,
I was going to segue to. Let's talk about those recruits, Christian.
I felt like the mayor. I'm gonna be honest, because a lot of the dudes that were down there, I have prior connections with, whether they're commits or whether they're possible prospective owls, and being able to go out there and just talk up the program, like talk about their experiences with the recruiting process, and then also with the commits, just making sure everybody was good. We had some big names in the house: Jordan Magwood, Robert Lee, Brandon Hoke, Logan Husband, just to name a few off the dome. All commits. Those were must. Basically, that game was a must win, and then also, it was a big recruiting weekend for FAU athletics as a whole because our very good friend, especially us, Miss Jordan Clark, and the FAU softball team hosted multiple recruits as well. So they got a great game day in paradise. Was seeing all the visit pictures on my social media feeds, liking, retweeting, trying to help them out with the recruiting push as much as I could. Something that I did notice for a lot of the softball recruits is they're all local South Florida girls. I saw Jupiter High, which is 25 minutes from my house. So glad to see that once again, Coach Clark is also buying into the Tri-County takeover, it appears. So big weekend of official or unofficial, not really sure what it was, visits for softball. Coach Clark was whipping around a golf cart at some point. Stay tuned for a carpool karaoke video with me and her. It's in the works. Coach, text me back about it. But
we shall see.
Anything else, Rob?
With recruits, it was good to see a victory in front of those recruits. That's it's like college football. You lose that recruit, EACFB. If you lose that rivalry game in front of recruits, never good. Big win in that department. And in terms of baseball, I wanted to touch on the practice facility. They got the a little bit of an IPF going on out there now. They can have batting practice inside. It's air conditioned, which is huge for them. Huge for recruits. Baseball at FAU it's tough. The money isn't it's not there like an ECU or even I'm trying to think of the other good baseball
Wichita State.
Yeah, like those those are schools that really fund their baseball program NIL wise, and at FAU right now NIL is really being focused for football and basketball, and rightfully so. But Coach Mack and company, they do their thing. They try to build quality men out of recruits they get, and they do the same thing, go after Florida guys, and so I'm glad to see that they get the upgrades for the program to try to help that and keep the program. On a positive pitch, Coach Mack, one of the veteran coaches at FAU, always gotten a competitive Owl squad. Even if things have an up and down during the regular season, you'll catch him in that AAC tournament making some noise. So glad they got that going for him. And in terms of basketball, Christian, you were in attendance today. The Owls hosted their open practice to the fans. The Flamingos were there. Unfortunately, they did it at the same time as Tom Herman's press conference, so I wasn't able to go. But Christian, what was the team looking like, man? How are the Owls looking on the court?
First off, it was only open to students, so get bent alumni. You weren't allowed in the building. You had to go to the Herman presser. Me as the actual enrolled student, I got to see them practice, but it was a good showing. I'm very happy with what I saw. Didn't really know a lot of the new guys coming in. The only one that I had a prior experience like having relationship building with was Ken Evans. So being able to like meet a bunch of the new guys and like chat up with them was nice. Got to see first time I ever got to see Devin Vanderpool actually play basketball live in person because remember he was redshirted and had a injury
Mm.
last year. So being able to see Devin, who's a guy that I've gotten to become very close with, we're same grad class, we have classes together. Being able to see him, ball was pretty good. He looked really good today. Um, Baba Miller is the truth. I really liked what I saw out of Baba today. First off, I love saying Baba. That's so fun. But every coming in, everybody was like, Baba Miller's a shooter. Baba Miller's a shooter. And I'm like, he's 7'1". There's no way this dude's a shooter. Like, I'm just like, all right, let's kind of do the math on this. But then actually watching him, I'm like, yeah, this dude's a shooter. I saw him pull a three from 5 yards behind the arc, green. I'm like, okay, that's good. Yes, it's practice, but I'm still buying stock into it because guess what? There was still somebody guarding him. Our international players looked good. Montas and Matas looked very good. Liked what I saw out of them. Leland Walker is going to have a big role in this offense. He's going to be the guy where it appears everything's drawn up that um, everything's kind of running through him,
Mm.
bringing it up top of the key, feeding, plugging and playing. Thought he had a really good practice. Really like the decision making and the IQ that he's bringing to being kind of the quarterback of this offense. Trey Carroll, great practice. Like really liked what I saw out of Trey. Getting hyped as always. A little bit of hair flipping every now and again.
Even if Trey doesn't start, I think he'll play a huge role on this
I,
team.
and I agree. I think Trey's going to be Trey, as always, is going to be the lifeblood of this team, and I think that he's poised for a bigger leadership role as well as a bigger on-court presence. Um, I really liked what I saw out of him. His three ball looks as good as ever. He's driving. He appeared to be driving the paint more, being a little more physical. So I really liked what I saw out of Trey. Trying to
You
think.
mentioned Nico too. Three
Ni-
shoot.
Nico really liked what I saw out of him. He's a sniper. Thought he had a good day of practice today. And then finally, my last note is the size that we have is our team looks bigger as far as just size.
Mm.
Because last year was really just headlined by a very tall Vlad Golden. Love Vlad two pieces. Hope you're doing very well in Ann Arbor, my friend. But as far as size wise, it really just looked like Vlad and a bunch of dudes shorter than him. Like there wasn't really that dominating presence of they have multiple good bigs.
Yeah.
Um, so I think being able to have a Baba Miller, Matas, Montas, Trey, even our smalls are pretty tall. I'm gonna be honest. By no means am I the tallest person in the gym. There was a little debate on Twitter group chats of how tall I am. Guys, I'm 6 foot. Can we stop saying I'm 5'8"? Especially you, Robbie. You're one of the bigger jerks for that. But yeah, being able to see the guys in person. Jaquel's still dealing with a little bit of a bang up. Didn't get to see him practice, but same thing. He was doing whatever they needed as far as just being that team guy. So I'm really interested to see what this team is going to do. I think having multiple early exhibitions slash um, I don't want to say cupcake opponents, but projected wins early in the non-con schedule is only going to start the avalanche and snowball effect of smaller one, big, really good wins going into.
Got a tough test.
And that's the thing is we're possibly matching up against either Miami or Drake. Oklahoma State's a good team. Michigan State's a very good team. One thing I've always learned is, and I learned about this year, is always bet on Tom Izzo to win at least one March game. So being able to get storied good programs and multiple P4 wins during the non-con schedule, then going into a conference schedule where I think we're one of the top eaters as far as good teams in this league. I think it's honestly, I still firmly believe it is between us and UAB. Memphis is dealing with whatever Memphis is doing right now. I am not writing them off, but right now there's so much uncertainty, especially in leadership at Memphis, of where it's, like I said earlier, assembling a super team and having no chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Memphis basketball is going through right now, unfortunately.
Yep.
Then USF, I think they fell off. I'm not confident in USF's personnel at all. I'm not speaking in a rivalry sense. I genuinely don't think that USF they lost so much, including and not limited to future NBA logo Selton Miguel, just to
Mm.
name one absolute star. Like, I think Jaden Reed is a very good player. I love watching Jaden Reed play. I've said that since early in non-con schedule last year when I got to see him play against Florida State. I think Jaden Reed is a baller. But outside of that, there's a lot of question marks because a lot of the guys that were there last year are no longer there. Outside of that, losing SMU, that was another top dog in the conference. They're gone. Bye bye. Wichita State's scrappy. I think that realistically, it's between us and a very good UAB team. Yaxel Lindenberg is, in my opinion, the best player in this conference coming into this year. And then two is the kid from Memphis that transferred from Tulsa that I'm forgetting his name.
PJ Haggerty.
PJ Haggerty. I think those two are easily going into the beginning of the season. Those are the two best players in our conference. I think FAU has potential to dethrone somebody very quickly.
We shall see. FAU will kick off their season with. I don't want to get the FCS school's name wrong here. Uh,
Blue Mountain State.
yeah, no, I don't. Or what is it? They're Division Two actually. Let's see here. St. Leo with an exhibition at home on October. I should have known St. Leo. Got some good friends who play baseball over there. So, and then their first official game will be Indiana State, which is a battle, like you mentioned. So there's no real tune-up games for that. That's going to be a tough test out of the gate. But we shall see. Going to take a quick break here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. When we come back, talking AAC and some Florida teams, which may have some struggles and coaching changes about. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Just after 8:40 here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network, talking AAC. Christian, how about Memphis, man? They really asserted themselves as the potential, really, in my opinion, forefront for that a G5 playoff spot alongside Boise State. They win 20-12 over FSU. They get another big game from Seth Hennigan, who throws for 272, two scores, also 7.2 yards per attempt. It was just a big, they found different ways to get all of their receivers involved, from Lamphere to Taylor to Blankency. All had solid games. Disrosiers had a receiving touchdown. So, it was just a real all-around effort, again, for Florida State. DJU, 16 of 30 for 201 yards and a pick. Roydell Williams scores the only touchdown of the day for the Noles on the ground. He finishes 5 carries for 6 yards. The Seminoles just don't have any run game right now. I mean, 24 carries for 37 yards. 1.5 yards per carry is bad.
They don't have any offense. That's the issue. Shout out to the Memphis defensive player of the week, DJ Ulangale, for not having another good performance. Like you said, they fall to 0-3. Memphis out here dominating early, being able to, first off, beat your former head coach. That in itself is a nice little, guess what, buddy, grass isn't always greener moment. And then a team where it's a national brand that had a lot of talk throughout the end of the season into the off season. That is a big boost for Memphis's stock. And guess what? Memphis, there has been so much talk about Memphis moving on from the AAC. Memphis and Tulane are the front runners to be the first ones to leave the conference. And at least they're doing something to warrant possible conference realignment. Other teams in the conference, not so much. They just love to talk on Twitter. All they do is yap on Twitter. The overwhelming majority of their content comes in way of my posts. Maybe that's good engagement farming on my part, but also they haven't done anything. This certain squad that I'm not going to name drop, that y'all know who I'm talking about, have scheduled 10 games against P4 opponents and was flexing that the other day on Twitter. But if you go through, they lost every one of those games. Congratulations. You're playing P4s, but when you're getting blown out, that's not like golf claps. Do you want to leave the conference now? Like, that's going to be you every week when you go to the ACC and you're once again a bottom feeder team. Because, and I will die on this, whatever, I'm name dropping. USF football has not beaten a real team. They have not beaten a real team, either A, above 500, B, playing Division I FBS football, or C, isn't an HBCU. That is all they've just beat up on. You're beating on inferior competition, and then, good job, you beat Syracuse. But guess what? Syracuse didn't have a quarterback. Their tight end was playing quarterback, and unfortunately, it's not like if Travis Kelce was playing quarterback. That dude was a bum. So I think that Memphis and Tulane easily have the resumes and the athletic prowess to possibly jump conferences. And if they do, go be great. We will always we'll root for you because their fans have always been chill with us. There was a little bit of beef early in the days between me and the Memphis faithful, I will admit, but like they've always been good, and they're good teams. They deserve the opportunity to step up and get to play at a larger scale. Other teams have overrated themselves into thinking that they're elite, but when, once again, you have a mid-football season, you beat a bunch of sub-500s, HBCUs, and FCS schools, and then in basketball, you get carried by a terrible non-con schedule and the fact of you didn't play any of the top dogs twice in the conference. You didn't play SMU twice. You didn't play Memphis twice. You didn't play FAU twice. I believe they did play UAB twice. and then going in, losing early in the conference tournament and not even winning the NIT, they do not deserve to be moved up. FAU does not deserve to be moved up. We just got here. We shouldn't already be trying to leave. Commissioner Pernetti's been good to us. So
Yeah. No, I agree. Realignment's a tricky thing. I don't necessarily know if the Pac-12 is definitely somewhere where Tulane and Memphis would want to go. Their fans don't want to wait for the ACC to open, but do they also want to get stuck in a conference that may not be able to get back up to that power status? Why do I don't know which way alignment is going to go. I'm not going to act like I'm some type of insider like these people on Twitter like to do. But it just doesn't really make sense to me right now. But should the Pac-12 add, one of maybe a Stanford or UCLA who's struggled right out of the gates since moving from the Pac-12, maybe they go back, and then maybe it's a power-ish conference, and then Memphis and Tulane go, and then all of a sudden it's building something. I could see that.
I was about to
Um,
say
I could see that.
UCLA really left the Pac, really started the whole disbandment of the Pac-12, going to the Big Ten just to get murked by Indiana at home, like early on in the year.
Yeah,
But I'm reading Joe Key's comment right now as well. My personal take on conference realignment is the way everything's going is we're going to have two super conferences, and it's going to be the SEC and the and the Big Ten, however you want to rename it. And everybody's going to either be going to those or they're going to be an FBS independent. And then what's going to happen is it's going to turn into everybody's independent, and you schedule whoever you want, like you're playing high school ball. You can literally, like, that's the way that I think things are trending, and that's just because money talks. I don't know anything about TV deals or anything like that, so I'm not going to speak on that. But in my personal opinion, that's where I think college sports is heading, is to where it's schedule whoever, whenever. You can literally go Kennesaw State, Alabama, Georgia, Kent State, back to back to back to back. And it's just the 12 best teams in college football are the ones going to the playoff competing for a national championship. That's just my take.
we shall see. Some AAC teams also this week did struggle. Charlotte, for their credit, they did bounce back and come back down. They were down 20-3 early in that third quarter versus Gardner Webb. Charlotte subs in third string quarterback Trexler Ivy in that one, and they come back and win 27-26. Biff Poggi told the fans after the game that they should have gotten their money's worth and stuck that one out instead of leaving when your team is losing by 2 touchdowns to an FCS at halftime. I don't agree with Biff. We heard Tom Herman say we have to do better at keeping them in the stands when when he was asked about the fans leaving versus Army. Biff's got to
Getting
get it together.
getting your money's worth for Charlotte football is not going to the game. You are actually wasting your time, and time is money, by going and watching Charlotte football. I'm sorry. Everybody said we were bad over the past couple weeks. Charlotte is worse. Like we beat the brakes off of them consistently. Whatever Charlotte's doing, do the opposite of it. I'm sorry. That coach should not be talking anything and trying to get on the fans. Same thing with Billy Napier. He should not be talking about the Twitter gremlins in the basements of Gainesville, because apparently people have basements in Gainesville, Florida. Like don't be roasting your fan base. Maybe get off of social media and kind of worry about what your guys are doing. And by that I mean they're underperforming and they suck.
Yeah, the teams, that was a bad loss for sure, or a potential bad loss. Excuse me. They did, I keep forgetting they won that game, so it's like, should it matter? But even being down that much to an FCS is a struggle, and it's just not good. They're down now to their third string quarterback. Not good, not good at all over there in Charlotte. But and they extended their AD. Right after that game, they extended their athletic director, who, it's tough to criticize an athletic director in today's college landscape, but the Charlotte fan base does not seem very happy with that decision. They've struggled. Aaron Fern right now is verdict still out. Seems like a very good basketball coach. Got Charlotte very competitive and gritty last year in basketball, but football hasn't been good in quite a while. And before Fern and that little resurgence this season, Charlotte hadn't been very good in basketball, and the hires were from their athletic director. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Charlotte. Looking ahead to week 4, Rice versus Army. Rice needs to try to bounce back in that one. That game just jumped out to me. Big game, though. South Florida versus Miami. It's another chance, like you mentioned, for USF to prove it. But they're at home versus a Miami team who to their Miami hasn't played anyone really too mind blowing so far. So this is a chance for South Florida to prove it. If they don't, then it gets kind of questionable in terms of it's questionable. But going into the Canes a little bit, Christian. What do we think about this matchup, Miami versus USF?
I'm going to say this, and it is going to sound so Canes biased and so anti-USF biased, and I'm sorry, but I am calling it how it is. Miami outclasses USF in every single aspect of this game. I think Miami is going to dominate the way that they have been and the way that Alabama turned on the Jets against them at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I think the Canes are going to do that from the opening snap. The difference between Miami and Alabama, in my personal and professional opinion, Bama was playing with their food too much. They kept them boys in that game until about like 10 minutes left in the game. Yeah. Alabama forgot that they had a game for the overwhelming majority of that game. First off, that offensive tackle or the guard was so bad. Every other play, that kid's getting a hold. And
that wasn't good, though.
No, that was not good at all. And then secondly, Jalen Milroe wasn't – everybody's saying Jalen Milroe is the runner-up for the Heisman, and I still have the question of what has Jalen Milroe done? Cam Ward is easily the front runner for the Heisman. Even you are a Gators guy primarily.
I'm not a Gators guy anymore. Like that.
Okay, whatever. Avid FAU fan only. Robert Lastella has gone on record multiple times and said Cam Ward is the clear-cut Heisman favorite right now.
I have said that.
Because what Miami is doing is they are dominating early. They don't even let you get an ounce of breathing room. And I'm not even talking about beating up on FAMU and Ball State. I'm talking about the Florida game. They were just driving, scoring, driving. That's what
has that Heisman swagger to him. He's dominating. Even the FCS schools, he's dominating. So it's like we'll see.
And he's got the hardest selly. He's got this.
I need to see it though versus USF this week. It doesn't do it for me if this game's a dogfight. This is supposed to be the first game where it's a good team. I thought UF could be competitive. They are not. And so this, in my opinion, USF should be a better football team than Florida. Should USF and Florida play a game with Graham Mertz as starting quarterback, I think USF takes that game.
Once again, you're beating up on a nobody. I'm sorry, but UF football is just bad. So
do I think UF maybe wins that with Lagway? Maybe, but that's hypothetical.
But Miami, the thing that Miami's really going to get away with is exposing USF's defense. If you break down the film against the Bama game, they were running a one safety set and so much, like they were doing so many where there is one dude back and everybody's playing in press. Why are you doing that against Alabama? Hate to break it to you, but there's a guy named Ryan Williams who's a pretty damn good football player. I would not be pressing him without any help over top. Because guess what? Now, doing that against a halfway competent offense, guess what? decent quarterback because, once again, Jalen Milroe isn't good. He's good, but he's not elite. That's just my take. Doing that against Cam Ward and doing that against a Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, I'm sure JoJo Trader will be in the game at some point. Try it. See what happens. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a fireworks show. And I don't think that they're going to do it because they realize of how much, one, that it didn't work against Bama, which is stupid play calling, but then also having, I think that um, I think that Miami has more star power. So I think Miami defensively is going to contain Byron Brown. Where USF keeps themselves in the game is if Byron Brown is able to run around like crazy.
Mhm.
That's where USF is going to keep them in the game. Contain Byron Brown, maybe knock the Sonic Mario coins out of him a couple times because he runs bold, and that's something that I do like about Byron Brown's game is he runs like every play he's getting in that box, and that is
Answer too. Both of them, man.
yes. Byron Brown is a baller.
Yeah.
I like watching Byron Brown play football. I don't like the logo that he plays under, but I do enjoy watching Byron Brown play football. But he's got to be more conservative against Miami because there's a dude who Graham Mertz didn't know, and his name is Francisco Kiko Mauigoa. He will kill you if you try to run that ball like in the open field without trying to slide. He will take your head off, and I guarantee that. I expect a big day from Miami's defense, but also Miami's O line outclasses USF's pass rush by a mile
Mm.
easily.
We shall see, Christian. We shall see what happens. That game kicking off this Saturday. But one last game I want to talk about in the Florida realm because it's my Heisman pick right now. UCF comes back from down 3 scores versus TCU to win that game 35-34. KJ Jefferson 13-22 for 230 yards and 3 TDs. KJ Jefferson, not my Heisman pick though. RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey, UCF's running back, had 29 carries for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 6.2 yards a tote. He is my Heisman candidate right now. He has been balling through 3 games. He's toted it 59 times for 448 yards and 8 touchdowns, Christian. That is pretty daggone efficient. 7.6 yards a carry. Had a long of 60 so far this season here. He rushed for 1,400 yards last season. I think he can go for more than that this year. And if UCF keeps on winning football games, I have no reason to. And if he's leading the way, give it to me. With the way college football and everything's going right now, I need a running back to win the Heisman.
And that's the thing is UCF is easily the second best team in the state. I think I've loved the way that UCF has played football. I think that they're a very good squad. I think Gus Bus is cooking right now. He's cooking with his 25 recruiting class, but he's also cooking with the guys that he has on campus right now that are balling. He's making KJ Jefferson look like a solid quarterback. I was not high on the addition of KJ Jefferson. I was very averted to it because I didn't like his time at Arkansas. I think KJ Jefferson right now is the second best quarterback in the state, leading the second best team in the state. I think RJ Harvey is easily right now, in my personal opinion. There's a good chance RJ Harvey, if he keeps up what he's doing, will be the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. No doubt. I really do think it's between him, the receiver from Arizona, and Travis Hunter. I think, and they'll shoehorn Shador Sanders in there as well. But
yeah, Colorado's got to win some football games, though. They won this week versus Colorado State in a big way. I love Shador Sanders. I'm not, we're winding down here, but what I do want to say is there's nothing wrong with Shador Sanders talking trash to Colorado State's quarterback after Colorado State's quarterback said something about him and talking. So nothing. I'm a fan. I don't care. He didn't do anything wrong. People just want to criticize him. So
agreed.
we are out of time, Christian. It's been a been a good Tuesday night here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. If you missed the first half, we talk everything FAU. Owls had a ton of recruits in town this weekend. Make sure to hear about that from Christian here, who was in town at FAU's dominating Shula Bowl Victory. And here's thoughts on FAU open practice for basketball as well. Second half, talking everything AAC. Christian, we will see you tomorrow night on New Era Prep Nightly.
Yes, sir. 5:30 p.m. Be there, be square, and spam the comments. I want a little more activity in the comments. Y'all try to make me laugh at some point during the show.
I left some comments for you, Christian. You didn't talk about St. John Paul and
Yes,
their
I did.
first. Oh, you did it. I missed that part. That's my bad.
I told you.
That's my bad. But anyway,
It
we'll tune in tomorrow. Make sure to tune in to Christian's show. If you want more FAU content dropping on Thursday afternoon, we'll be joined by Graham Chamberlain of Stores Central. He's a beat reporter for UConn football. We're talking to him over on Inside the Borough over on FAU Owl's Nest YouTube. Be me, Kevin Fielder, and Mike Birdman talking to Graham. So make sure to check that out, dropping Thursday afternoon. Check out Christian's show tomorrow night. But most of all, folks, thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. Until next time, I'm Robbie Lastella for Christian Proscia and all the crew at the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We'll see you next time.